Hello there. I know it's Christmas Eve, but I managed to find some time to record this last video before Christmas. So, yesterday I played round 6 in the LoneWolf under 1800 tournament, and I think this game was rather instructive from the positional and strategical perspective. So, I want to show you this game, and I hope you will find it instructional as well. Okay, so my opponent, Lucas, it's the Polish version of my name, Luka. He's rated approximately like me, so I was lower rated last week than he's now. So we are about equal, I would say, according to rating and according to some other profile statistics. And he plays lots of rapid games and classical games, so I was prepared to meet a tough opponent here. Okay, let's go to the game. So my opponent played d4. I responded with d5, so this is my usual response, just fighting for the center. c4, now Queen's Gambit. And well, there are some different ways I play this position. Sometimes I go just with Chigorin, sometimes I go with Slav or semi-Slav, and this time I decided to go just for the Queen Gambit decline line, so I'm just protecting my pawn. And Queen Gambit declined is a very simple opening for black, very straightforward. You just develop your pieces on natural squares, you castle, and then you think about how to develop this light square bishop. And there are several options how to develop it, depending on what white does. So, for example, if white takes the pawn, you take back, then you have free path for your bishop. If not, then you can go to so-called Tartakover variation. So you just push the b6 pawn, and you can develop your bishop on either b7 or a6. And also this b6 move prepares c5, so-called liberating move in the black setup. So these are some basic ideas. Of course, as you know, I don't learn opening theories in the way that I learn variation by variation, move by move, but I know some general ideas, and then I try to implement it on the board during the game. So knight c3, he develops, I develop knight f6, bishop g5, so this is a usual move, pinning the knight to my queen, bishop e7, so unpinning the knight and developing, knight f3, castles. So these first 5 moves are typical for Queen Gambit decline, so I castled, and now I can think about how to develop other pieces. e3, again typical move, and now b6. Like I said, he didn't take the pawn, so I have to think how to develop my bishop. So sorry, b6 is a natural way. So I can now develop my bishop either on b6 or sorry, on b7 or a6. Bishop d3. Okay. Now in this position, usual response and the book response, engine response is just to take this pawn. So the idea is I don't want to take this pawn now, because then he will just develop the bishop. But now when he wasted the tempo and developed the bishop, now I can take, and he has to move the bishop again. So I win a tempo. So this is the idea. This is one way to play this game. But I didn't want to release the tension. So it's legitimate to take it, but it's also legitimate not to take it. So I wanted to keep this central pressure because I had other plans in mind. Okay, so what to do now? Well, he probably plans to play queen c2. This is usually in this kind of setup, and then he makes hard pressure on my h7 pawn. And well, this is one thing I should consider. And so the useful move here, and usually in Queen Gambit decline, the black plays h6 at some point. So this is h6 is a useful move. It kicks the bishop, and it also takes care of this threat, because now there is no threat to capture the pawn. Even if he checks here, I can just move away my king, and nothing happens. This h6 move is characteristic of this opening, and I decided to play this now. So it's not a time-wasting move, it comes with tempo because he has to move his bishop away. Okay, and now I'm continuing my development. There are several moves to consider here, so I can develop my knight, I can develop my bishop, and I can make the c5 move, because this b6 also supports the c5. So it almost doesn't matter in which order you do this. You can do this in almost any order. It's almost always the same. There are some slight differences, so you have to rely on your intuition. So I first develop my knight, so just following the rule, develop knights before bishops, and also this knight guards this knight. So I think it's a good, okay move. He castles, and now I play c5. So this is the critical position in the opening, because now you can see there is a lot of tension here in the center, and white has many ways to respond to this. He can just ignore, he can take this pawn, he can take this pawn, he can, I don't know, bring his rook on the semi-open, soon to be semi-open file, he can develop his queen, he can do many things here. And you just need to wait and see what he does. And if you look at the time, you can see that he finally took on d5, and he took something like almost 5 minutes to make this move, and this is okay, because when you face this kind of position with many options, and well, you have to calculate. If you take this pawn, for example, I can take this, I can take like this. If you take this, I can take this. So there are many options, and it's okay to take some time for this. So he took c takes d5, and now I end up with a series of exchanges which led to the hanging pawn positions. So I took with my pawn, I didn't take with my knight, although I think the engine would like me to take with the knight, but I did take with the pawn, because I wanted to reach this hanging pawn position, just to learn how to play this. It's a very interesting position. So now he took on c5, and I took on c5 back, and these are hanging pawns. So you have 2 pawns on d and c file, and on the other hand, they are something like passed pawns, and usually white plays b3 at some point, and then you have this very interesting position in which it's not clear whether these 2 pawns are assets or liability for black. It can be considered a weakness, but it also can be considered a very strong dynamical resource. So it depends how you play this. And if you imagine this pawn here, then you can see how tense the situation is. You cannot push anything, and so on. So let me just talk about these hanging pawn positions. I learned mostly about this position and how to play this from Silman's book Amateur's Mind. He offers several examples, and I have also encountered some games when I go through master games. So this is what I know about this position. So what does black want to do here? So first of all, black wants to support his pawns with his minor pieces and heavy pieces. So he wants usually to bring his rooks behind the pawns to support them, and to arrange his pieces so that his pawns are defended. And you can see that my pieces already are arranged in such a manner. So this pawn is protected twice, this is protected once, and when I fianchetto my bishop, it will be also protected twice. I have queen, okay, but usually I want to protect this with the rooks. And then I play for the d4 push. So I want to push the d4 pawn at the right moment when the conditions are suitable for me, and then usually I end up in more active position if I manage to do this as a black. And what does he want to do as white? Well, first of all, he wants to attack my pawns. So he will also try to bring his heavy pieces to attack my pawns, and he will arrange his minor pieces also to try to attack. And you can see this position, it's not very easy, because this bishop is, well, it's stuck on the king side. It's not so clear how this bishop can attack my hanging pawn. This knight also is not so good placed. This bishop, well, it can do something like this, be remaneuvered. He should also think about how to remaneuver his knight. So the idea is to keep the tension, so not make any pawn pushes until you get your all your pieces in the right places. So he wants to attack, I want to defend. And also there is another goal for white here, is to force me to play c4. So if I would to play c4 here, then I have this backward pawn weakness, which he can exploit later in the game. After the exchange of minor pieces, he can attack my backward pawn with his heavy pieces, and it's very difficult to defend. So all in all, he is attacking my hanging pawns, I'm defending them. I want to play d4, he wants to stop me for playing d4, and he wants me to play c4. So this is the theory which I know about how to play this position. So, and you'll see that these are my plans. And these hanging pawns, if played correctly, can be very strong and can practically dominate the whole board, as you will see in this game also. Okay, now my opponent plays bishop c2, which is okay move because now he attacks my pawn, and he also is ready to attack it again. So you'll see how he will just pile up on this d5 pawn, and this is correct strategy, and I have to defend. So bishop b7, okay, now I'm defending this twice, and you can see that this knight is very important, because if he takes my knight, I can take back with the knight, and again I'm still defending d5. So this is very important, this structure here. Queen to d3. Okay, now he is probably he wants to double up, so he's piling on my pawn. This is okay. And now this is another critical position, because I have to calculate very carefully how to defend, how to be solid with this structure. And I think at this position I took the most of my time, and I think I took some 6 or 7 minutes to think about it, because, well, you have several options on this puzzle. You can think of maybe knight to e4 and, well, calculate how this would end up. Maybe move this knight away, so to have another defender of your pawn here. But then he can take this and remove one of the defenders. So there are some things to consider. I will not now consider all the options, nor do I remember all the options I was thinking about. I was considering how to realize this d4 push as well. And, well, after some thinking, I decided on the move queen b6. And, okay, if you look at the time, yeah, I took 6, almost 7 minutes. And interestingly enough, this is the engine move. The engine thinks this move is the best, so I guess I evaluated the position correctly here. So what is the idea behind this move? First of all, I'm making the pressure on a b2 pawn, which I cannot take because he will just attack my queen and then pick up my bishop here. So, but it makes some pressure. It also makes pressure on the d4 square. And if you remember, I told you that my ambition is to play d4 at some moment. So this move prepares this d4 in a way. Another thing I noticed about this move is that now d8 square is free for my rook, so I can put, for example, my a rook here and then align rook with the queen, which is always nice to have in the openings. So there are several considerations. So making a pressure, preparing d4 push, and making room for my rook in order to be aligned with his queen. So I think this is a good move. But okay, of course, engine evaluation is everything is equal. Up to now, it's plus or minus 0.1, 0.2. So it's pretty much equal. So this is just a positional maneuvering. He plays rook f to d1, so he continues with his plan. And now I have to think about some other things in the position. So when this queen was here, this bishop was protected. After moving my queen away, this bishop is unprotected. And whenever you have unprotected piece, especially at this, if you are at the level in which you tend to blunder, like I am, I tend to make blunders to hang my pieces and so on. So you don't want to have unprotected pieces here. And this piece is indirectly attacked. So if this knight were ever to move, this piece would hang. And I didn't like this position. And this is, of course, the consequence of my last move. So, I mean, it's not something urgent, something which is catastrophic on the position, but I have to address this and I have to think about this. So maybe a stronger player would not mind having the unprotected piece. He would maybe see that it's not directly attackable, so maybe he would consider some other moves, like putting the rook on the d file, like I said before. But I wanted just to play this safe, so I played rook f to e8, so now this bishop is defended, and I feel safer, so there are less chances that I will blunder something. And now he plays knight to d2, and he probably wants to prevent me for playing this move, because now after I defended this bishop, this knight is free, and I can play for example, this knight to e4, and well, this can be unpleasant, because if he cannot take, because I will just then fork his pieces. So I think he wanted to secure this e4 square, and this is why he played knight d2. But this was a mistake. In fact, this is a blunder move for tactical reasons. Take a look at this queen. So, what squares does she have? She can go on this diagonal, and I have this move. Yeah, I forgot to mention this, but actually I was considering in this position. When I played bishop b6, I was thinking about this threat. I just forgot to mention this now. So, this move also allows me this threat and this pin. So if he didn't move his rook on the next move, I would just cure his queen and his rook. So this is another, so this is fourth thing which this move does. So you can see why this move is good now, because it does four things. So he prepares d4, making pressure on b2, making space for the rook, and also allowing this threat. So he had to play this because, okay. But now if you look at this position, now if I play bishop to a6, so this queen doesn't have many spaces. So if I play queen to a6, all these squares are taken, this square is taken, this square is taken, so only square the queen has is f5. And here I actually missed the tactics. So what I should have played here is just bishop to a6, and now he has to move the queen on f5. This is the only valuable move, and now I can attack it with g6, and he has to move it again, so he can play something like queen f3. I mean, he has only a few squares to go with the queen, so it doesn't matter when he goes, and then I can take queen b2, and now I'm hitting his two undefended pieces at the same time. And he cannot defend them both. He can try some desperado moves, but he will end up losing a piece anyway. So this is tactics I have missed. So let's go back here. So I didn't see when I take this that I have two undefended pieces, and maybe this is something. Well, there is this book called Tune Your Tactical Antenna, and when you scan the opponent's position, you should be very aware of the undefended pieces. So this piece is undefended and this piece is undefended. So if you have two undefended pieces or one undefended piece, you should try to think about how to exploit this. So two undefended pieces, and well, this move attacks. I mean, okay, it's not, sorry, it's not undefended, but if I play this, he has to move the queen. He has to move the queen again, then this piece is undefended. Okay, so it's not so easy to see it. But okay, maybe I should have calculated this and see when then after this I have two undefended pieces. But okay, it's not so easy to see, I guess. Instead I set up a trap, so I played g6. And now his queen has no squares to go. When I play this move, his queen is gone. Okay, and he didn't see this threat, and he played rook a to b1, which I think is probably the worst move here, because now not only does he allow me to play a6, but at the end, when my bishop ends up here, I will also have double attack on the rooks. So this is how the game went. I played a6, and now what can he do? He can try to block it, but this will not do nothing. So he cannot save his queen. So his queen is gone, and the only thing he can do here is to counter attack, so to attack my queen back. So he played knight to a4. At this point, its evaluation is something like -5, -6. So it's completely losing position, because now he's losing a piece. And at this point, this is the counting problem, counting puzzle. You have to count all the captures and see if you end up with the plus in material. So if I capture, he captures, and what now? So his knight is here. He can do several things. He can capture my rook, or he can go for my knight. And then if I continue to capture, he can capture my another knight, and now forking my king and my rook. So you have to calculate several variations here. So captures. What do I do now? If I just take the knight, he'll take. So if I just take the knight, sorry. So if I just take the knight, he'll take my bishop, and we are even. So this is not good. So takes, and now what can he do? He can take the knight, and I can probably just take back the knight, and this bishop here is not attacked, so I'll be up a piece. Okay, so I don't want to bother you with all the possibilities. I mean, you can pause the video and calculate yourself. In fact, this is a good calculation puzzle. So calculate all the possible scenarios. Hit the pause button and calculate all the possible scenarios of capturing sequences here, and you will see there are lots of them. So anyway, I calculated them, and it took me, let's see how much. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, I guess I was in the mood of calculating fast, so he took back. And now I didn't make the error like in some of my previous games, just to blitz out my calculations. So I did calculate all the second capture sequences, but still I didn't blitz them out, but I stopped and thought again and rethought my calculations after every move. And this is the way to play chess. I made some serious errors before on just blitzing out the moves. So I calculate like 4 moves ahead, and then I just blitz out the moves, and this is not a good practice. So if you can see the time before I captured, I spent like a minute just to double check if everything is okay. And he decided to go for the rook. I took the knight, and now you can see why this move is probably the worst move he could make, because now, well, I have this fork. And even if he didn't do this, I would still end up winning a piece. So he couldn't avoid, after this a6, he couldn't avoid losing the piece in any scenarios. But he just made this more easy to me here. Okay, so he played rook to c1, and I just took the rook, and he took back, and now you can see that I have 1 extra piece. But still, it's well, it's a fight, because he does have some material. He has knight, which is a very tricky piece. He even has this bishop for now, and he has some kind of majority here. So you shouldn't relax at this moment. I lost many games by relaxing, by thinking that okay, now I'm a piece up, and I will just blitz out the rest of the game, and I have an easy win. It's never easy in chess. So you have to be careful. So first of all, I played rook to f8. Again, I have undefended piece here. So this knight is pinned. So I don't want this. And also I want to activate my king. So this is why I played king f8. Rook c1. Okay. Seizing the semi-open file, it makes sense. Rook c8. So I'm countering this. I have to support my pawns. And you'll see all the time that these hanging pawns are are still holding together. Knight to b3, attacking my pawn. c4. Okay, here I could have forced the exchange immediately by just playing knight to e4, and now he has to exchange the bishop, because if he retreats, I'll just exchange it anyway. But I played c4 first. I advanced my pawn, so you can see that now I played c4, and I said that black doesn't want to play c4. In fact, it is the goal of the white to force me to play c4, but it's true in the middle game, because then I have this backward pawn weakness, and it's true in the middle game, but at this point it doesn't matter, because he doesn't have enough heavy pieces to use this backward pawn weakness, so it doesn't matter. So I'm just kicking his pieces away. He moves to d4, and now I play knight e4, forcing the exchange. We exchange bishops. He played f3 now, kicking away my knight. I placed my knight on this nice c5 square. Rook to c3, so he's trying to activate his rook. Knight to e6 now. I'm again offering the exchange and kicking away. If he doesn't want to exchange, he will be kicked away. So he played knight to b5. I predicted this, and I just played a6. And now he cannot go forward, because this will just capture his knight. So he has to move backward. So you can see that now his knight from the nice center square is kicked on the side of the board. He doesn't have any moves, so these squares are taken. d4 now, so I'm now trying to open the position just to get some activity for my pieces. E takes d4, knight takes d4. Okay, now I have this pawn. King to f2 now. He wants to activate his king, because this is the threat, so this unpleasant fork. So he activates his king. Knight to b6, so I'm now piling on this. And you'll also notice that, well, at this position, I was ready to sacrifice my pawn for just for the simplification, because instead of playing king to f2, he could just take my pawn, and I would take back, and he would take, and he will win the pawn, but then he will lose his rook, and the game will be simplified, and it will be easier win for me. So I was ready to give up this pawn and just to simplify the game, but he didn't go for it. So now I'm backing my pawn. Knight to b1, he has to do something about his knight. Knight to a4 now, hitting his pawn and his rook. Rook to a3 now, hitting my knight and my pawn. I just take the pawn here. Okay, now he can have this pawn if he likes, and you'll see that now I have a passed pawn, which is very, very close to promotion. And well, there is not much he can do at this point. He tried knight to c3, so blocking my pawn. This is in principle good strategy, good idea when your opponent has a passed pawn, to put the knight in front of the pawn and to do the blockade with your knight is something which is the best thing you can do. But well, in this particular position it's not so good, because I can play knight to b5, and now he has to either exchange knights or lose his rook. And he tried knight to d5 check, and I just played king to d6, and now I'm attacking simultaneously his knight and his rook. And well, he could play something like rook a8, I take, he cannot take because this knight is protected. So yeah, now he loses either rook or the knight, and at this point he resigned the game. Okay, so this is the game. I think this is instructive because the hanging pawn position is one of the most interesting positions in chess. It's full of dynamical potentials. It's well, it's a really good position to learn how to maneuver your pieces, how to exploit weaknesses, how to make right pawn pushes at right time. So I think by playing the hanging pawn positions, you can learn much about chess in general. And I would just like to reflect on one more position from the game, which I didn't reflect enough before. Okay, so this is the position, and now you can see the strength of the hanging pawns. So you have only two isolated pawns in the game, two small weak pawns, and you can see that these two pawns are holding his whole army practically restraining his whole army. So he has queen, he has knights, he has bishops, he has rooks, and all these are just controlled by these two little pawns. So this is the fascinating thing about this position, how these pawns can be a weakness in the position, but they can also be very strong. So I think this position, like I said, it's very instructional, and I think I did play this correctly. I had the right plan, and I implemented my plan correctly. I believe so. I don't know. I would need some stronger player to tell me if I did something wrong here from the positional aspect. But okay, anyway, in the end, it was the tactics which just decided the game. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Today is Christmas Eve, so I wish you all very Merry Christmas, and I will see you very soon with more chess. Cheers.